Good morning. Welcome back to His Sparrow. Today, I want to talk about a better way to say you're sorry. Actually, we talk about how to make a proper apology. I don't think many of us have ever been taught how to do this. Well, it's been about 7 years ago. I came across a blog written by a woman named Jo Ellen, and it was from cupofcoco.com. And when I read this, I thought, this is something I want in my family, because I was dealing with little boys who were constantly arguing. I was doing that typical mom thing that I was forcing them to apologize, and it usually ended up looking like something like, say you're sorry. I don't want to say I'm sorry. Well, say it anyways. I'm sorry. That there's no change in behavior. The hurt keeps on hurting, and there ends up being division between siblings. And when I came across this and we started incorporating it, it did create more peace in our home. And I've started applying it in my relationships. And I tell you, it can totally change the atmosphere when there's a conflict going on. So I want to share this gem of truth with you. There are 4 steps to this apology, and I want to show these to you. I printed these up and put them all over my house, and so I'm going to show you one. You'll see how crumpled it is. There you go. Look it's tattered and bent, but this is it. There's 4 steps. I'm sorry for. This is wrong because. In the future I will. And will you forgive me? We're going to talk about each one of those, and I'll explain them more clearly. Okay, first of all, I think it's important to teach our children that sincerity is so important. And that comes across with our eye contact, making sure we're looking at the person, not rolling our eyes, that you use a sincere voice, that it's respectful, it's not snarky, as I would call it. And our body language is one that we are towards the other person. We're for the other person and not just all defensive and mad. And so teaching them that, and even role playing, can be so helpful. Because if an apology is pointless and meaningless, then people will know that you don't feel it. They know you're not sincere, and it doesn't do any good. So the heart attitude is really, really important. Okay. The first step, I'm sorry for. It's very important to be specific. Name what you did wrong. Put words to it and show that you really understand what they are upset about. Okay, here's the wrong way to do it. I'm sorry for being disrespectful. That's so general. Being more specific. I'm sorry for using that tone of voice and for slamming the door. So it names it, and this is very, very important to call it what it is. The second step, this is wrong because. Now, we have had the most trouble with this step, and here's why. You have to really think about it. You have to really put yourself in the other person's shoes and feel what they're feeling. But you know what? When we do this, this is when change happens. When I've seen my boys really understand what they did that hurt the other person, they don't want to go there again. And so this is where change can take place. And so it's very important to understand why it was wrong and to understand how it hurt the other person. Here's an example. The wrong way to say this would be, this is wrong because I got in trouble. We don't want to do that. That's typical. But the right way to say it would be, this is wrong because it made you feel like I don't care about you. And I know that that hurts your feelings. So really getting into the other person's head and heart and voicing that. I tell you what, this can make such a difference at this point. So often we just want to be understood. And having that done makes such a world of difference. The third step, in the future, I will. You want to make sure you use positive language. Don't just say what you won't do. Say what you will do. I've had to train my boys in this. They'll want to say, well, in the future, I won't hit you. No, you want to say it in a positive way. In the future, I will keep my hands to myself. Okay. In a school setting, it might be, they would try to say, in the future, I won't cut in line. Well, no. In the future, I will wait my turn. In the future, I will show respect by not rolling my eyes, by using a proper tone of voice, by, that kind of thing. So use always in a positive way of putting it. Number 4, will you forgive me? It's very important to restore the friendship, to restore the relationship, to open up that door. And it's a very vulnerable place to actually say those words, because you know what? The other person may not want to forgive you. They may not forgive you at all, or maybe they don't want to forgive you right then. And I've allowed my boys, if they're not ready to forgive, to say, I want to forgive you, but please give me some time to calm down first. I really want them to say it sincerely. But then we have to make sure we go back, because they could just go off and get busy playing Legos or something like that and never come back. And so I'll talk to them about and say, well, but how much time do you think you would need? And usually they can pinpoint it. They'll say, I just need some time in my room alone. Or if they say, I'm not sure, I'll say, well, I'll even set a timer and say, well, I'll tell you what, because I'll forget. I know I'll forget. And say, well, let's revisit this in a couple hours and we'll see. And usually by then, even at 30 minutes, things have calmed down enough and they can sincerely receive that. But I know the more that we've practiced this, there usually doesn't need to be a whole lot of time, and the brothers are willing to forgive each other. I know for myself, when my boys have used this type of an apology for me, when they've offended me, oh, I melt. By the second step, I am like putty. To have someone to voice it that way and to really mean it, you actually end up feeling closer with that person. There's no division. It's actually a reconciliation, and it's come together. And I've tried to practice this in the workplace when I've offended somebody, to go through this. They don't know I'm going through 4 steps of apology, but I'll put it in my own words. And I tell you what, there's total reconciliation. I've used this in friendships when I've accidentally offended someone. And it has been a wonderful tool. I'm so thankful that I've been able to find this out and incorporate this into our home. I feel like our sibling rivalry has really toned down. I feel like it's enhanced relationships, and I hope my boys will take this and use this in their own homes. So I hope this has been helpful, and thank you for spending this time with me.